Okay, we're all set. So we should call the meeting to order at 4:30 p.m. And we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States,
United States of America, and to the republic
for which it
stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I need to do a roll call. And Brian, are you here?
I am here.
Scott, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Beth, are you here?
I am here.
Okay, we are all set. I'll turn it over to you, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. So first thing on the course of business is the approval of the agenda. So
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second
all right.
that we approve the agenda.
Aye.
All right. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've called for a vote and it's unanimous. Great.
Okay. And then an opportunity for statement of conflict of interest. Any of us have such a conflict of interest? Okay, moving on. Correspondence, of which I do not believe there is any. Okay. And then on our consent calendar is one item, which is the approval of our minutes from the October 26th, 2021 meeting.
I move for approval.
I second the motion.
All right. And I as well for that too.
Aye.
Aye.
Good, passes unanimously.
All right. Okay. Well, so it looks like up next we have public comment on the matters which are not listed on the agenda. So if anybody would like to comment on anything not listed in the agenda on matters within our jurisdiction, please raise your hand.
Brian, could you explain the circumstances of the link?
Right, that is a fantastic point. So we did have an issue with our Zoom link over the holidays. I know that the staff at the county was had issues with contacting the correct people to set up the link. So that link has now been deleted. So if people click on that link, it says that there is an invalid link. So hopefully we have, and I know that in for the outreach that I have done in Bodega Bay and our area, I have sent out in the same format the new link. And I believe, Scott, you have done that as well.
I've tried, and also to point out that it was the format that made the first link non-usable.
I have sent it out as well. And I would suggest in the future for land use committee meetings, you don't have enough people for it to be a problem to use a standard link. So if that error is ever made again, I would not recommend changing the link. We'll have that conversation with staff tomorrow.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Elise. So, if anybody on the call knows of any people who are not able to, please let us know. And if anybody on the call, whether on the panel or otherwise, attendees knows of folks who wanted to attend, but we're having issues, please go ahead. Marty, does Paul? Did you send a new link to Paul?
I sent them just before the meeting,
Okay.
various people, the new link.
Okay.
And since the newsletter list is the list that I sent it to, I also send it new. So Marty, I'll send a text to Paul to look for the new link.
I sent it to him as well, just minutes ago.
Okay.
This is why it's better not to change links. Absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
We tried.
Okay. All right. Well, end of
Hold
year
on.
issues, end of
Paul's
year,
on,
beginning of year
yay.
issues. All right. There, Paul is on. So fantastic. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. All right. So we have, if there's, I guess now the matter is public comment. How do we proceed with this? Should we?
Shall we let, Robin Rutterow has her hand raised. Shall we have her go first?
Absolutely. Robin, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself? Is that possible, or do we need to do that?
She's in the panel. I think she can do it.
Yeah.
All right, here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Just briefly, on our Bodega Bay area, in local info Facebook page has been a discussion about a property on Bay Hill Road at 3919 Bay Hill Road in Bodega Bay. And it's a large residence, and it apparently has been hosting very large gatherings, some type of workshops there with dozens of people, and there doesn't appear to be a use permit for that. And so I would encourage that there be a complaint submitted for this. It is interesting that the property has just been put up for sale. And we'll follow up on this as well. Secondly, another thing that showed up on our Facebook page today is in Salmon Creek area, no parking signs have just been put up in a fairly large area that people have been historically using as a parking lot for decades. And this is kind of stunning because there's really not any other convenient parking there, and it's right adjacent to the path, the trail there, and it's kind of mind-boggling that no parking sign would have been put up where people have been parking and accessing park facilities for a long time. Thank you.
Okay. With respect, so Elise and I discussed the first issue over sort of the holiday periods. So I did do a little research on my own just to see about whether there was a permit. So I know there was some discussion of a permit. There doesn't appear to be an active permit. But Scott, did you have a
Well, this is
point about
public
that?
comment, so maybe we
Yes.
should take it up.
Yes. So I will discuss that with Elise further, and we'll sort of go on that. And Rob and I will talk to you as well.
Thank you.
All right. Beth, did you?
I do. I
Have
have my
something?
hand up. Thank you.
Okay.
So, and please, tell me if this is the right format to be asking this question in. I'd like to check the status of the grant application for the digital sign, the Caltrans type portable digital sign for Bodega Bay Fire Department with the Sonoma County Tourism Department. They've applied for this grant for quite a long time ago. How do we do that?
That's a MAC project, not a land use committee project. But so you can just send an email to me.
Okay, thank you. And regarding the no parking signs that Robin was just discussing, if you're still on, Robin, were those professionally installed by the county, or are those installed by just residents?
Those were the county. So that
The county?
Yeah, it was the County Department of Transportation. So yeah, so I will I'll look into that. I'll talk to Robin about that as well.
Yeah, and Clyde's your guy. Clyde's the guy you want to talk to.
I will be reaching out to you as well, Beth.
Okay. That's
All
all.
right. Okay. And is there, I don't see anybody else with their hand up. If anybody else has something they want to raise, please raise your hand now.
Could I suggest, since we're having people finding us late, that maybe we return if there's any people that showed up late at the end that want to comment, any fresh people?
Sure. Yeah, I'll put that again after the regular calendar. All right. So moving on to our regular calendar. The first item on the agenda is the Timber Cove Country Inn project. And Margaret Grahame is associated with this project. She is here as well. To sort of, I know, Margaret, you gave a presentation to the full MAC last year, I believe, or maybe 2020, I guess.
2020.
Okay, so 2020, and then you have received feedback from both the county and from the community.
Correct.
And so you wanted to, so this is going to be an opportunity to address the feedback which was previously raised with you and to further get any additional feedback.
Absolutely.
I believe this, the possible expansion of the properties around the Timber Cove Resort, which I believe this is close to, was mentioned in the local coastal, in the LCP from the previous revision. Is that right?
The expansion of Timber Cove Resort is part of the feedback that will be addressed, that I'll be addressing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just, if you can, Mary, who is giving Margaret the opportunity to share her screen?
You're muted, Mary. There you go.
Margaret, you should be able to share your screen. Do you see a green button?
Yep, I do.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we'll see if I can work it from there. Ready to go ahead, Brian?
I believe, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair Brian and the rest of the committee, for taking the time to address this project that's been pretty important to me and many other people over the last couple of years. And the other thing that I want to say up front, as a community member, I very much appreciate that the MAC Land Use Committee is setting up this process so that projects such as what I'm dealing with here, Timber Cove Country Inn, and other events that do have an impact upon the community on a broader scale, there is the opportunity to have a dialogue with the community about these projects. So I very much appreciate this process happening. Because Brian, yourself and Beth were not on the MAC back in 2020 when this was presented, I'm going to give a very quick overview of the project, and then I'm going to go into the feedback that we did receive both through the MAC meeting back in July 2020, feedback we have received from just outreach to the community generally, and also feedback from PRMD from our initial application. And where we are at the moment is we have considered that feedback, and we have responded to the county with an updated submittal. And that updated submittal application has been deemed complete by the county. And following that decision, it has been sent to various agencies for review. And that is why it is now coming across the desk of the Land Use Committee. So here we go. So this is the glitzy little presentation about Timber Cove Country Inn. So I'll, as I said, I'll move through it fairly quickly. I'm assuming that you can all see it now.
Yes.
Okay. No. Okay. So The general concept behind the development is to very much conform and fit in with the natural environment. We have a very special coastline. It is a very special coastline, and so any development of any sort, we believe, must conform and fit in with that coastline, and in fact enhance it, add benefits as well, without taking away, especially from its natural beauty. That philosophy in this development we have tried to respect as much as possible. This aerial shot is from the initial application, and very little has changed, but as you can see, we're looking at putting 12 individual cabins as well as reception area with 3 treatment rooms and a small multifunction room. And down here on the coast, on the bluffs, close to the bluffs, is a small soaking tub and sauna. It is located on a 12.74 acre parcel that is vacant at the moment. And this parcel boundary here, it borders with Timber Cove Resort. In putting this together, as I said, there's been a lot of considerations, not least of which is the native environment. We want to create an environment that meets the needs of tourists and locals alike, but it brings the natural environment into their experience as much as possible, and has an atmosphere of tranquility and connection with the coast. To this end, we have presented a variety of technical reports, such as biological, traffic, water and septic, noise, geotech, air quality, and greenhouse gases. Since we started this process, we have been in touch with, as much as possible, the California Coastal Commission, Supervisor Hopkins and her office, Sonoma County PRMD, so that they can provide input as much as possible along the way, because essentially we're trying to develop this project within the guidelines, and getting those guidelines as clear as possible has been a very important facet of this for us. This is just, these are images to invoke the style and the sense of the development that we're trying to create here. The 12 individual cabins will be essentially the same. They will be a single bedroom with a living room and a small kitchenette. They will be prefab, so built off-site, and trucked in and placed on the foundation. They'll be obviously of natural wood siding, and have been designed to have as low a profile as possible. They're all single level, and to fit in with the natural environment as much as possible. As you can see from the materials palette, the colors and the materials are designed again to blend with the natural environment as much as possible. And you can see the floor plan there. There's essentially a bedroom with a bathroom off there, and then a second, so the second sort of unit that gets joined together with the living room and a small kitchenette. A little bit more pretty pictures about what this might look like. And simple furniture that again reflects the style and the cleanliness that allows the outside to be the feature rather than the interior designs. There will be, as I said, 3 treatment rooms in the spa reception building. as well as a small multifunction room that could be used for a yoga class, that sort of thing, as well as the small sauna and soaking tub for probably about 8 to 10 people. This is, as you can see, the design of the reception building. The reception area is here. As you can see, there are 3 treatment rooms and corresponding bathrooms. There's a small multi-function room here, and this is essentially storage back here. Again, you can see we're keeping with a very low profile and very clean lines. The spa sauna, again, same sort of very simple lines and profile, very small. Both would fit up to 8 to 10 people, the sauna and the soaking tub. So that is the pretty presentation. This slide here, I wanted to show you. This is like I said, this is a 12.7 acre parcel. This is Pacific Ocean. This is Timber Cove Resort. And this is the Bufano Obelisk, which is actually a state park. And this is the parcel boundaries all around here. And the state park is actually inside that parcel. And so of this 12.74 acres, as you can see, there's a great deal of bluff edge around here. And essentially this area here is the area of the whole 12.74 acres that is possible for development because of restrictions of wetland setbacks, bluff setbacks, or that it's just the terrain is too rocky, septics, that sort of thing. So on a relatively large parcel, we have a very small area in which to actually do any development. We have, since we got feedback from the county and all the community, we have changed a little bit. There's a few things we've had to consolidate to be in an even smaller developable area. We've done things like, this used to be a turnaround here for emergency vehicles. Now we have allowed, there will be a locked gate with a, that will allow emergency vehicles only to go through to the parking lot of Timber Cove Resort and out, and so not needing to do a turnaround. We've had to do a little adjusting. We had to do things like get a main high water mark done. And so that impacted on the setbacks a little bit with recalculations. I think that's probably, one more. No. How can I? This is just the same site layout, but to give you an understanding of the natural terrain that is there at the moment in what we're looking at. And essentially you've got the bluffs here going back to sort of very scrubby terrain with larger trees along the highway, pine trees and that sort of thing. So, given that, let's talk about some of the feedback that we received. And this is a summary of the feedback that we received. As I said, from the July 30 COAST-MAC meeting back in 2020, communication with PRMD, they had reached out to various people. They reviewed the application, as I said, and they came back to us with quite a comprehensive letter of what we needed to do in order to complete the application, and then community outreach. So this is a summary I will go through the summary of the feedback that we received, and then following that, I will talk a little bit about how we responded to that. So the first area, are we all doing good, or am I sending people to sleep here?
Going.
Okay.
This is great. This is great.
Okay. The first issue is around the local coastal plan. And as you said earlier, Brian, there was concern that this development is seen as an expansion of Timber Cove Resort. And within the current local coastal plan, there is that is not allowed. There was concerns about that we were trying to fast track this project around the local coastal plan and bypass it. There was concern, and I think this is probably in broader terms about dealing with developers generally, in that there was a desire for transparency and openness in dialogue. There was feedback saying that we needed to change the zoning and that we would need an LC amendment. The next major area is around the technical reports, and there was feedback saying that we had inadequate technical reports, specifically geotech, biology around environmental sensitive habitat areas, wetlands and tree removals. We had inadequate technical reports around visual impact and fire and emergency services and surface runoff. There was feedback around the closure of the public bluff trail. There was a great deal of conversation about the water supply and whether there would be sufficient water supply, not only to supply this project, but also to be able to continue to support the rest of the Timber Cove County Water District. There was conversations about alternative power. Are we using solar? What do we do about the septic pumps when the power goes out? Are we going to do EV charging stations? And then in talking with the neighbours who are most close to this environment, to this project, their main concerns were around lighting, impacts them through their windows, noise, and the visibility of the project itself. There was the question about worker housing and how that might be incorporated. And as I said earlier, PRMD themselves gave us quite, I think it was about an 8 or 10 page letter outlining all the things that we needed to do for our application for it to be deemed complete. So let's look back in our responses, because I want to say it's really, I'm new to this development game, and but during this time I've experienced a lot of animosity, I think, and stereotypical feedback against developers generally. And because they have, like I said, not been transparent, they've blatantly lied to people's faces. It's like we're trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. And that has not been the case of what we've been trying to do here. Not just myself, who lives almost directly opposite this development, but ownership back in New Jersey. They are fully committed to being as transparent as possible and to listen and hear the feedback from all agencies and to try and incorporate that into this project. And so that's why this MAC process has been so integral to what we're doing here. So, and also, I think often what happens, there will be feedback from the community or whoever, and then that's all that's heard about it. And so this is an opportunity, I hope, for everyone to feel that, yes, we have listened, we've heard, and we have considered. And this is our response to that. So the local coastal plan, the expansion of Timber Cove Resort. Timber Cove Resort is on a separate parcel, and although there is shared, there's some common interests in ownership, this is a separate development and has always been seen as a separate development. I have told people that my way of thinking behind it is, if this wanted to be sold to somebody else down the track on its own, then it's a standalone business. And so to that end, we have provided in our last application, we provided PRMD with all the legal paperwork to that effect, as well as a narrative explaining the difference in operation procedures and things between Timber Cove Resort and Timber Cove Country Inn. Bypassing the local coastal plan update process. Well, the initial MAC presentation, as I said, was in July 2020, where we said, this is what we're doing. The information about this is available through PRMD. Give us your feedback. Come and talk to me. Talk to PRMD. I'm happy to discuss this with anybody. And here we are. We finally got an updated package to PRMD December 2021. So 18 months has transpired where anyone and everyone has had the opportunity to talk to us, to provide feedback. So I really don't think we're trying to bypass the local coastal plan update, which I think is actually slower than our development timeline. Transparency and openness in dialogue. As I said, this is really important to me as a project manager involved in this. And so we have worked as closely as possible in building relationships with the MAC and using this process, local community, seeking out people and working with PRMD to build those relationships so that that's very open and transparent. The technical aspects of amendments and zonings, we are not requesting any amendment, nor are we requesting any rezoning. This project, as we have presented, is a conforming use for resource and rural development, which is the zoning for that particular parcel. The inadequate technical reports. These were a bit hard to respond to because the technical reports that we provided as part of the application are very, very comprehensive. And anyone is welcome to have a look through and say, look, I don't agree with this, or what's this, or what do you mean about this? Or like, for instance, I think some of the feedback was about further definitions of wetlands. I'm not sure what to do about that, other than say the technical reports have been provided as part of the application, and they will be reviewed also by technical people in both PRMD and the Coastal Commission. And I still welcome anything specific within those technical reports that people would like to provide us feedback with. I alluded to fire and emergency services. Fire and emergency services here in Timber Cove is a very, very important part of our life here, both in terms of support. Our volunteers do a wonderful job. They do absolutely stellar, wonderful job. And so if we can help them to make it easier to support us, we very much want to do so. So I did meet directly with the fire chief back 18 months ago. And based on his feedback, we made sure that the hydrants were included and up to code. And the driveway, as I said, was modified to allow emergency vehicles to drive through rather than have to worry about turning around. The closure of the public bluff trail. The there was one of the aspects of getting a coastal permit these days is that you have to improve upon public access. And we had initially considered and presented that we would make the Bluff Trail public as part of as that. But the complications around requiring 24, sometimes it's closure or not closure, and safety and all of these things. In the end, we're not proposing that the Bluff Trail become public, but instead we are looking to add further amenities to the existing public easement that is on the parcel. So we're looking at providing a telescope, and hopefully we can do one that you can look at the whales and one that you can look at the sky for the public to be able to use to view the coast from the existing public easement that's there. Water supply. I worked for about 12 months with Timber Cove County Water District to address this question, not just of getting an updated will serve letter, but to get a will serve letter where the Timber Cove County Water District and the community could feel that we are safe in going ahead with this around water in, you know, these very trying times for us. I use Timber Cove County water, so I don't want some development to take away my water if I need it. And so the water district got Brazier and Race to do an analysis on their supply and capacity, and included the estimated water demands for this project. And based upon that, have provided an updated will serve letter. There is included in that was some conservation measures and things like that that we absolutely agree with and support. And we talked a lot about things that we could do within the development that would help with conservation of water. But Timber Cove Water District, there is no moratorium on development. We have sufficient water supply, and that has been validated also by the State Water Board. Alternative power, solar, battery backup, that sort of thing. I personally have just put solar panels on my house. One thing that the Timber Cove Water District is doing, which I think is a great idea, is looking to create a microgrid, an electrical microgrid for the community when the power goes out. This development supports that 100%. And so rather than having our own solar panels on all the roofs down there, we are absolutely 100% support behind the Timber Cove County Water District microgrid. EV charging stations, absolutely, they're coming down the pike. And there is currently an EV charging station, a universal one, and ADA accessible in the public easement for this parcel. As I said, the physical impact upon neighbours. The lighting issue has been a big one for neighbours along the coastline to the north, and they get a lot of lighting from the parking at Timber Cove Resort at the moment. And so we recently worked with Timber Cove Resort to put some temporary screening for them. And then as we develop this development, hopefully, landscape plans will definitely be used to support screening the gravel parking lot of the of Timber Cove Resort from those neighbours. There's no outdoor noise planned, and there's a corresponding noise report as part of this application. In terms of visibility, some of the feedback was about visibility from the highway, visibility from the public access points. This development conforms to all the local coastal plan design requirements about building heights, materials, that sort of thing. And there is also, as I said, a visibility assessment report that is included in the application. Workforce housing. It is not required as part of this application. It's a huge issue for us here in the coast. Huge issue. But it was not required as part of this application, so it's not included in this application. Nevertheless, ownership of this development, we are continuing to look for possible solutions to this really important problem for not just these businesses, but for all the businesses along the coast. And finally, as I said, PRMD gave us a comprehensive letter of completeness. Since we have updated our application, we are now deemed complete. And because we are now deemed complete, they were able to send the complete application out to at least, I don't know, 12, 15 agencies, as well as the MAC for consideration. So that's a lot of talking on my part now. I think that sort of hopefully gives you an understanding of where we are in the process and what we've learnt from the feedback and working with the MAC.
Great. Thank you, Margaret. I want to open it up for comment on this. I guess we'll just go from the public. If folks want to raise their hand, they have questions for Margaret, please go ahead and do so now.
Not seeing anybody.
Okay. All right. I believe Anne has raised her hand. Anne, go ahead and unmute yourself.
The link that was sent out was incorrect. And so,
It was.
yeah. So I think you may not have a lot of people on here for when people aren't commenting. I don't have any, I just wanted to say that.
We actually
But-
have more than usual.
Oh, really?
38. 38.
I can't tell.
So we did earlier. We addressed this on the call, and we certainly, when we changed the link, we did our best to inform folks about the change. So hopefully, as many folks were able to join as possible.
Okay, I do have one question, and that is it still just 12 units?
Yes, Anne, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Phil has a question. Your hand is up.
Ginny, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have a question regarding local people. Will local people have some method or membership or way of using this facility? Or is this only open for guests of who rent the cabins and stay in the adjacent hotel? And yeah, so I'm just kind of curious to know, I mean, to really garner support, people may want to be able to enjoy it themselves. Thank you.
Thanks for asking that question, Ginny. It's important. So the spa facility will be absolutely open to anyone who wants to walk in and have a treatment. Yes, absolutely, that will be open. The challenge and the sort of fine tuning on it is for the soaking tub and the sauna, in that they will only be available if you are a guest of the spa. So if you come and book a massage or something with a spa, you will be able to go and use the soaking tub and the sauna. Or if you're a guest of the cabins, you can use it. But the general public won't be able to just wander in and jump into a hot soaking tub for 8 to 10 people.
How about you had mentioned also there's a communal area where there may be yoga classes, or how will that be determined? And if there are yoga classes, will the public be able to attend, or et cetera?
I imagine we will be having, they will be having classes there that will be open to the public. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't see any more hands.
I do not see any more hands. I guess I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So Margaret, in terms of public access to the bluffs and the trails along in the property, will those? I saw that on the project that there is an easement for public access along on the Pacific Coastal Trail. Is that available all year round, or what is the situation for that?
So, and I'm not sure when you say Pacific Coastal Trail.
Or whatever the
Okay,
the trail that is there.
Okay, so at the moment, because people will go and wander along there just because it's a vacant land and it's not locked off, and people will wander, and so there's a trail that is along the bluff, and the public easement is actually along from Highway 1 down along the parcel line to essentially a point where you can look and see the Bufano statue to your left. You can look out to the south along the coast, all along the horizon, up to the north. There is actually, there's a bench there and an information panel, so that this is essentially providing ADA access for the state park, which is the Bufano obelisk, because it's built on rocks, and so physically getting up there is not possible. And so because there's this public easement already available, then that is what we're concentrating on. Now, in terms of stopping people walking along the bluffs, I imagine that we will invite people to do that. It won't be designated as public access.
And Beth or Scott, do you have any other questions?
I don't at the moment. I would have, I realize with the difficulty of people getting in, I would have expected more questions, but my questions are answered.
There are 3 more people that are in chat with their hands up.
Okay.
Let them go. I'll pick up the end. So let's have everybody else go first, please.
Okay. Wanda Swenson has her hand up.
Hey, Wanda, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. So I'm just wondering, this is, going through, I mean, when would construction be starting, or, what's the timeline for this development?
That's a $64,000 question for me, Wanda. Where we are sitting today, right? Today is January 4th. January 5th is the deadline for agencies to provide their feedback on this application. I have no idea what might come back from that. And I have no idea what that might entail. And so even talking with PRMD, it's really contingent upon what comes in that process and the dialogues and communications that happen subsequent to that. So I can't answer your question, Wanda. I'd love to be able to, but I also don't want to give anybody anything to think that it might, that they could put their hat on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, we also have Carol Slechtica with her hand up.
Carol, go ahead and unmute. Carol?
You're
Carol,
muted.
you'll need, there you go.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation, which was, as you said, very similar to the one you gave 2 years ago. I wanted to address this question of the local coastal plan and the revision. Just for the audience, I'm sure Margaret understands this, but it's been a very long process that's still ongoing to revise the local coastal plan, which is being steered by PRMD planners and a lot of citizens trying to be involved and actively involved and meeting with the planners. And the reason it's slow is that we're really trying to have a better coastal plan than the one we have now, which is likely to be more restrictive of tourist impact on our coast, which is a multiple kind of impact. It's a huge impact on our public safety people. The volunteer fire departments up there handle almost everything that comes along. So more tourists are going to have an impact on them. I don't know if your development will add to their income, but it probably add to their work. The impact on towns along the way where the highway goes through, the highway that's always needing work, the parking problems all the way up the coast, and the impact on the environment itself. You're talking about your place being an enhancement to the environment, but you know, in fact, the environment's doing fine on its own. It doesn't need more people and accommodations for people to make it more beautiful. I appreciate that your design is not going to make it worse, and that's important too. But I just wanted to, for anyone who's listening that's not aware of the local coastal plan, there are real deadlines there. And if your project goes through on the old plan, it will probably be more easily approved than it would be with the new plan. So that's why that complaint has been made. Thank you.
Would you like me to say something in response to that?
Go ahead, Margaret.
Go ahead.
Sure, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think the question of tourist impact is exceedingly significant, and how we manage that in the future. I think how we manage our communities in the future is exceedingly important. And I think that's why I think the local coastal plan update is exceedingly important. And I believe it falls short in some areas and it is fine in others. And that's why, like you, Carol, I'm part of that continuing dialogue about the local coastal plan update. I think in the scheme of things, 12 cabins to support the tourists that are coming up here is not a significant impact in terms of how it might impact, say, the traffic coming through Jenna. I think the question of how we manage increasing tourism on the coast is an exceedingly important question to be addressed. And I'm not so sure in terms of what's going to change with the local coastal plan update or not. All I know is with this project, we have to work within some regulations and goalposts. And this is where we're working in that, and we're working with the current local coastal plan.
Chair, we have 3 more hands have come up.
Okay.
4 hands, actually.
I will point out that there are some hearings in the local coastal plan. That the first one is coming up in January 13th. If folks want to look at the Permit Sonoma's website, that you can get details on that. Okay, so we'll just go to the next person.
Okay, the next person is David Robertson.
All right, David, go ahead and unmute.
Still muted. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you. I have sort of a technical question, and that is currently what are the Coastal Commission and the county requiring for setbacks from wetlands? And how does your plan conform?
Thank you, David. My understanding, and I am not a biologist, my understanding is that the minimum setback from a wetland is 100 feet. And so there in the application, there have been 2 separate wetlands identified and 100-foot setback provided from those. It's interesting also that the Coastal Commission and the Army Corps of Engineers have different definitions of wetlands, and the Coastal Commission is much more stringent than the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps of Engineers requires 3 conditions to be met, whereas no. Yes, it requires all 3 conditions to be met, whether it's the plant life, the soil, and the water, I think. Whereas the Coastal Commission requires only one of them to be met to be considered a wetland. And the 2 wetlands that we have identified on the site, and again, this is my understanding, is because there is the specific plant life that has been identified and marked out.
Right.
And next we have Steve Bertelbaugh.
Yes, thank you for having this session. The question that I have relates to the additional roadway that you have, or driveway that you have coming into this fairly small number of units. Wouldn't it make more sense simply to have people come into the existing area and then come over to your place? It strikes me that having traffic coming out onto the highway from 2 different entrances that are close together and they're basically serving the same type of people is not really a very good idea.
I think, thanks, Steve, in that idea. And my initial response is, this is a business that requires its own public access, its own access for the guests, rather than using a pre-existing property. People have to check in to, if they're staying at the cabin, any of the 12 cabins, they check in to the spa reception building. They don't have anything to do with Timber Cove Resort, unless, say, they want to go over and have dinner there. Outside of that, this is, as I said before, it's a completely separate business. Now, would it save from putting paving down, and that's that level of square footage on the land, by having driveways connecting the resort parking lot to this. I don't know how many square foot you would save, but and this is, I suppose all I can say is it gets back to the thinking behind this is this is a standalone business, and as such, this has its own entrance. It has its own access from Highway 1. It will have its own signage on Highway 1, and is not connected with Timber Cove Resort.
Could I add?
Go ahead, Scott.
Also, the fire chief requested that it have a drive-through, and that would require two ways, and a way in and a way out separately.
I don't think there's any other hands, but in terms of those two entrances, how good is the visibility from to turn out so that everybody's sort of in terms of safety?
So there's one entrance. So the drive-through that we're alluding to is only for emergency vehicles. There will be a locked gate. And in fact, if you have a look at that place, the place that we're having, and I think down the track there will be more technical work done for Caltrans and all of this sort of stuff. But just broadly speaking, the area in which we're looking at having the entrance to this development is on a relative straightaway. And so visibility is actually quite good for that location. I'm wondering, I don't think it really shows, I don't know. If we look at one of the plans, I can show that a little bit more. But I know from my experience of driving it whenever I do, that's a straightaway from coming from the curve around from Timber Cove Resort, and before you just do another little jog up a bit further north. So, but all of those things will be taken into consideration, absolutely.
Okay. And then there's a question in the chat, which is from Jill a bit, which is, has the Coastal Commission approved of this development?
No. One of the, we have had, as we have tried to have as much dialogue with them over the years as possible to get their feedback. But this last completed application was sent to the Coastal Commission for their review, just as it was sent to the MAC and to the State Water Board and other agencies. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to say.
I don't see any other questions in the chat or anybody else's hand raised. Beth, did you want to make a comment?
I do. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Margaret, first thing I want to say is this is an arduous process for you, and I understand that very well. No one here intends to make it even more so. I think everyone just wants to make sure that things are occurring on an even playing field. Brian, we do have, I believe, Marina Herrera from the PRMD is on the Zoom meeting. Is that correct?
I believe she has left.
Okay. And there's no one else that I recognized from PRMD, did you?
No.
Okay.
And Marina is the planner on the project, correct?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
And Beth, I in conversation with her, I didn't want her to feel put on the spot in this this arena either. So.
Oh, I understand, and thank you for that. I have great empathy for PRMD as well. It is that they're all pretty good about doing these things, though. However, to answer questions, my first question is, or observation, as this meeting's been going on, my phone's been going nuts. I'm getting a lot of people saying, hey, I didn't even know about this meeting today. We just got back from vacation. We didn't know about this. And I'm wondering what's the reality of us asking for a 30-day extension of public comment. Not to make this any more arduous for you or painful, Margaret, please understand that. I think we all want to make sure if there's any concerns that are going to put a hitch in your giddy up, that they get out now, right? Not more money down the road for you and the owners of the property. That's my first comment. I think we need an extension of the public comment time if it's possible. So this hasn't gone to the Coastal Commission yet, or well, it's there. It's at the Coastal Commission. It's at the Planning Commission. No one has commented yet because that's not due. So that'll also bring further opportunity for public comment, understandably. Another question I have, Margaret, have you been on in the process with this development long enough to know when the certificate of compliance was created? Or they could have been done long before you came on board with this. I'm just not sure what the time frame is.
I'm not sure what you mean by the certificate of compliance.
A certificate of compliance, Napa, Sonoma County issues certificate of compliances for what are buildable lots, and it gives in there some parameters. That's my understanding, and the certificate of compliance may very well answer a lot of the questions the public has. So that's what I'm wondering, if there's a certificate of compliance on this piece.
And I'm not, I've not come across that term before.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, in terms of the sort of questions such as what it's zoned for, or things like, is that the question? Sort of.
Well, so I've heard some people comment on that. And and you were talking about the previous meeting on the in 2020. Mm-hmm. So if there's a certificate of compliance, it would state minimum parcel size and what can and can't be built, those kind of things, if it's required for this.
Yes. So then what I understand then is you're talking about the zoning for this parcel.
No, certificate of compliance is different. It may not be required for this parcel. That's a question for PRMD.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so that's a question that we'll ask PRMD, because that would, I don't know that it would help you. I don't know that it would hurt you. It would answer questions right off the bat for people. Mm-hmm. And did Adobe do the studies, or did Adobe hire out the technical reports in the studies, or did they do the majority of them themselves?
Adobe did the site work, the civil and engineering, and the septic work. Mm-hmm. They did not hire out any other consultants. We hired the other technical consultants ourselves.
Okay, and who did you use for the ESHA report?
For the biological report?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We have used a combination of Lucy McMillan, mm-hmm. Initially, followed up by Monk and Associates.
Okay, thank you.
And that information, Beth,
mm-hmm.
is, I mean, the complete technical reports are there in the application, so it's pretty obvious.
Absolutely. I haven't had the opportunity to go through all of the reports yet myself. I skimmed everything.
Cool.
Okay, and then I want clarification on the statute. If I understood correctly, there will be public access to the statue via the easement, correct? Is that what I understood?
There is public access, absolutely, to the, just wondering, the easement. There's public access definitely through the easement to ADA. I'm not sure in terms of climbing the rocks and the area itself. but I see no reason why that should not be. I can check for you, Beth.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Thank you. The project, by everything you've shown us, appears to be elegant, low visual impact that I can tell, complementing our coast. But we all understand why people have some concerns, and we just want everyone to have all their concerns alleviated.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much for putting up with this, Margaret.
Beth, can I also just say, and I hope this doesn't sound defensive, but as we've noted, July 2020, this project was presented to the MAC. And so there has been that opportunity for feedback and discussion, and anyone wanting to find out to speak to either myself or Marina at PRMD about it. So I'm a little bit surprised when people say this is the first that we've heard of it.
I hear you on that. Know that I hear you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I do. I truly do. I myself didn't hear about the project till recently, and I've lived in Bodega Bay since 2016, or Bodega. I'm new to the MAC, however. So that's simply an example.
There are always people who haven't heard of anything until the last minute, or until it's even after it's done. We've published it in the newsletter. We've put it out in articles. We've had MAC meetings on it. We cannot stop process just because some people have not gotten our information. We do the best we can to get out the information, but there are always people who have not heard of it.
Absolutely.
And I want to add, and I want to add just one thing. And I know we were working with a somewhat compressed timeline, and I know Margaret was. I appreciate your flexibility in getting this in before the deadline, which is tomorrow. And I believe you spoke to Marina about maybe being a little bit flexible on that deadline.
Yeah, and absolutely, because this is important that this feedback gets back to PRMD, that they understand what is going on here. At the same time, I was not imagining another 30 days out to do this again, because people feel that they haven't had the opportunity to review this. I don't know where she stands with this. I really don't know, and I don't want to speak for her. So I suppose my thoughts to you in considering this is, if you feel that there is feedback out there that you need to have in order to feel comfortable about where you sit with this project, what do you need in order to make that happen?
Okay, Scott?
Margaret, could you clarify, the deadline tomorrow is really for the recipients of the agencies that have comments.
Correct.
But in terms of public comment, that's not, the deadline's not tomorrow. Is that right? What is the real time horizon for public expression?
I think, I'm not sure if it was Beth who you said that if when this goes to Planning Commission, there will be opportunity for public comment. Absolutely. As this process goes down the various approval things, there will be continued possibility for public comment, just like there's public comment in the LCP Planning Commission hearings.
I'm sorry, for some reason I can't, because I'm a host in this, I can't seem to raise my hand. I just have to interrupt, so I'm really sorry. I just want to say that we will send out after this meeting. The holidays sort of screwed us up, and what we usually would do is have ready the project timeline and what the other opportunities are for comment, because Scott's right. This is one deadline. This has been going on for 2 years. So there will probably be other comment periods. There will be other comment mechanisms. We did put in the chat and in the agenda the planner name, so you can send in comments and questions directly to the planner. There are lots of different ways for comments, so it's not simply if you manage to make this meeting and otherwise you're screwed. It's a question of, we'll put out more information. The project planner is available, and we will get the rest of it and send out more information shortly after this meeting. And I apologize for interrupting you, Margaret. I just wanted to wrap that one up.
That's great. Thanks, Elise.
And thank you for the clarification on that as well. And my comment was just about today's meeting, not about the project.
Right.
Is that a lot of people? Yeah.
When obviously it has been difficult. I think Margaret and I first spoke about setting this up, I want to say like less than a week before Christmas. And we wanted to get it done before the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are additional opportunities to make public comment, whether to planning or to other bodies. But obviously, with the holiday and getting everything set up with the Zoom link and any snafus that came up, it has been a little trying to publicize this particular meeting. But as folks have alluded to before, the Land Use Committee is primarily an instrument of information, and there are additional opportunities to actually make comments to the decision makers who are involved in this project.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe there's one more hand up. Ginny, I know you had a question earlier. Do you have another question?
Yes, I have another question. Thank you, Brian. I'm just curious if you could give, Margaret, if you could give us a high level understanding of the septic design for a project such as this. Is it connected at all to the adjacent property? Is it a separate system for each of these rentals, or how elaborate is it? Because I know that on the coast development, that is always like the first nut to crack to figure out how to do that. So what kind of system was engineered to meet that requirement? Without getting into the whole plan, but just at a high level, if you could.
Yeah. You are absolutely right. Doing anything here on the coast, you start with septic and what is possible with septic. And the same was true with this development. And so essentially, and we used Adobe to do this, the septic is a standard septic with leach fields and things like that. And there are actually 4 different areas, including the reserve leach fields for this across the parcel. The largest is actually directly behind the spa reception building, between Highway 1 and the spa reception building. And there's nothing special, there's nothing outstanding about it. It perks for the requirements of this development, and we're able to do that. So, yeah. Is that high level enough?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So sounds like that was very fortunate from the point of view of the development, because that's oftentimes not the case. Thank you.
And Jenny, that was one of the constraints that we had to work with, because we can't put 15 cabins on because we don't have enough septic capability. So,
right. Thank you very much.
Right. Does anybody else have any additional comments about this project?
I'd like to just say that, when we formed this whole concept, the idea was to get involved in things that are happening and important to the community early, so that we can educate and really form it into a shape that works best for the community and applicants. And I want to just say that the applicants for this permit volunteered into this process, and also very much wanted to have this meeting. And I really appreciate the community and all the difficulties with the signing in and all, but still showing up and really engaging in this in a very constructive manner. I really appreciate that from everyone. Thank you.
I want to echo what Scott just said. We are an advisory panel of sorts, I guess, but we're wanting, we're appreciative, Margaret, very appreciative of you putting up with this. And our all of the inhabitants of the area, all of our constituents, so to say, want to hear all the details. And so this is a great process to do so. And again, I feel your pain and having to go through all of this.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Unless there's I would like to also echo those sentiments as well. And I know I've spoken to you a couple of times now, and I appreciate sort of your commitment to this process and to reaching out to the community. So thank you very much, Margaret.
Thank you, and thank you for making it happen.
All right. Unless there's anything else, I think we would move on to the next item, which is the enhanced speed limit sign and guardrail on Highway 1. I don't think we have anybody to discuss this particular matter. I believe it was just some more sort of informational purpose. The new speed limit sign, correct me if I'm wrong. Mary, do you know exactly where that one is?
Are there two of them? Are there two signs or just one? I think there's two. But I might be wrong.
I think there are two.
Yeah, I believe there are two as well.
I think one of them is right before the Bodega Harbor subdivision. And then one of them is right below the fire department, I think. And Mary, if you wouldn't mind double checking me on that.
Mary, you're muted.
I would like to point out that I'm a landlubber and I don't have the same landmarks that you do. But I do have the document here and I can refer to that and answer this question.
Around Doran Beach, right?
Well, what's the mile markers? Do you have the document open? I'm not able, for whatever reason, I can't get it to open
actually
on my system.
On my desktop too.
All right. Okay. All right. Well,
so we are at a coastal permit to allow Caltrans to replace speed limit signs on State Route 1 with new ones that provide feedback and are solar powered. 2 metal beam guardrails are also proposed to protect the new signs. The new signs and guardrails are proposed at 2 instances south of Bodega Bay Town Center by post miles 8.7 and 9.3, east and west of State Route 1 respectively. And I don't have any landmarks to give you there. I'm not sure where that would be.
And I believe the solar power is for that they're going to tell you your speed. Is that correct? Like as you drive past, those kind?
I think so.
Yeah, which is good because a lot of people are speeding there.
I think also that it will send feedback back to the roads department. I think.
All right.
Is that the intersection where they did some new construction to improve the lighting and something else? I'm not sure what it was.
No, No, that's more mile marker 5 or 6.
Okay,
So this is somewhere around Bodega Harbor, and I believe, I know the fire department for sure, but I think it's also Bodega Harbor subdivision. So I think they spaced it such to slow people down before they got into
town.
where they could do some harm into town.
okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, that obviously is that slowing down right before you get to Bodega Harbor and before you get to Doran is a dangerous spot.
Yes, I call that like the tunnel. It's like you're going into a canyon tunnel of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And people speed through that like fiends.
All right. So unless there's any further comment on that, I would like to circle back to public comment on any other land use items because I know there were some folks who had difficulty getting into the meeting. So if anybody does have any, I see a hand there. Yeah. So Thera, go ahead and unmute.
All right, thank you. I only received notice of the 2 items just a couple days ago. It was on Friday, in fact. And thank you, Rue, for that. However, the surprise to me was the fact that the south driving traffic will get this speed feedback signage after they've already driven through Bodega Bay, which has some great challenging space and homes and businesses alongside. What is really, I question highly, is where is the traffic flow engineer's study that said these are the most optimum spots that this should be placed? And the mile marker, whether it's in one document of that submitted proposal application is 9.3 or 9.7. It's on the west side of 1, placed in front of the property I own and bought in 1989. The proposed or stated engineering of a guardrail is 100 feet in length. Now there's already signs there, obviously not digital feedback, therefore speed feedback notification to those drivers, but 100 feet of guardrail specifically running the entire length of my property, that is so unusual. There's not 100 feet of guardrail that would protect the northbound people driving. So I have 2 objections. Number 1, why such length of a guardrail, and why the placement there for southbound drivers after they've already been through our little village? Please explain that.
All right, well, we don't actually have, so this is Caltrans, which I believe applied for this. So we don't have anybody from Caltrans on this call. But I know they are, I believe in the permit, there's information for contacting both them and for contacting Permit Sonoma about this
I did already.
project.
I did already.
Sarah, Beth Prisoni here.
Yes.
But you did send a letter to Caltrans already?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Email, to the application person.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's do this. I certainly know how to get a hold of you. I don't know if you need, so let's connect and let's go look at these things together to make sure that we're both on the same page. This is a Caltrans project. We have no input other than to let the public aware of it. But I want to make sure we're all on the same page with this. Let's get together and look at this. What do you think?
Well, certainly that's one of the things, obviously, the format for the MAC is that it's a advisory committee made up of locals that care about issues. So that's fine, but it's a sort of community feedback input.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I just question, and in the document that was sent out, the multi-page application and everything, there are full ledger size engineered drawings of the depth of the 18-foot sign, feedback sign. That's I don't know. I don't think the existing ones are 18 feet, but whatever. But my real concern was, why in the world 100 feet of guardrail? When in front of my property, Highway 1, there's been no accidents. The only accidents that have happened over several years have been at the wine shop next door, because people come up the curve, they don't pay attention, and they run into somebody who stopped waiting to turn into that parking lot. So, if there's no cause to, quote, protect a sign where there's never been an accident, it seems really bizarre.
Well, you know what? We'll bring Jeff from Caltrans in on it too, okay? But let's get together outside of this and talk more about this so that you're comfortable with what's going on.
Well, and it's really about the placement of the sign. Why would you put this speed feedback sign after everybody's already been through Bodega Bay?
So this is the one that is on Highway 1 that's right behind the post office.
Well, yes, but it's on Highway 1. And again, it's at that top end where Smith Brothers Road comes back.
So after Lucas Wharf.
Right.
And coming down towards, okay.
Yeah.
So they'll be coming through town, and one would assume that they would probably be going pretty slow as they're coming through town. Or opposed to the other one, which is going northbound.
You need to sit in my building and observe people. That's not true.
Coming south through town.
Absolutely, yes. No.
Right. So, for me, the area that I've seen that is of most concern is those folks who don't slow down as they're coming through, like the harbor. Mm-hmm. But in theory, they should be going slower. But I certainly do not doubt that they are in fact not going slower.
Right. And there's lots of good signage on what the speed limit is at any portion within Bodega Bay itself, the village, as I'll call it, but yeah.
I wonder if the guardrail, where I'm thinking it may be, and I may be mistaken, is it right where Lucas Wharf is? Is it to prevent
so Ginny,
because people park there all the time?
Oh,
so Ginny, real quick, rather than sorry to interrupt the crosstalk. So Ginny, I will send you the information about the where the guardrail and everything is. I believe it is available, and we will try to make sure that we can get additional information available to the public on that, on the actual map of where this is.
Absolutely.
All right. Is there sort of with everything that's been said with Beth and Tara, is there anything else that we need to say about this project?
Not at this point.
Right. Scott or Beth?
No,
okay.
thank you.
All right. So let's
go ahead
and move on. And if anybody has any additional public comment on any additional items that relate to our jurisdiction, please raise your hand. All right. I see one hand. Mary, here we go. Suzanne, would you like to unmute yourself?
Thanks, Brian. I don't know if this is way off topic, but I wondered if you had any insight into when the Bodega Bay Fire Department consolidation was going to be on the supervisor agenda. We've heard.
So that is an excellent point, but it is going to be that can be a MAC item on the agenda, which the MAC meeting is, at least correct me if I'm wrong, 2 Thursdays from now.
20th.
Okay.
January 20th.
January 20th.
January 20th.
I believe
save it.
it's currently scheduled to be on the 25th of January with the Board of
And the Board of
Supervisors. I
Supervisors.
believe I heard that today.
Thank you very much.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else that was relating to the Land Use Committee's jurisdiction? All right. Okay. And then if anybody has any agenda items for our future our meetings, we have, I believe our next scheduled is in, I want to say next month actually, is in February. If anybody has any agenda items for that.
I would even suggest any agenda items at all. Not just this committee.
Yes, for the MAC, our meeting is on, actually, I would like to point that out. Our meeting is on February 20th, and that will be, the Zoom link will be up on the county's website. So with respect to the fire department and everything else, please attend that.
And on Thursdays going forward.
Right, the change of schedule from Wednesdays to Thursdays.
Great.
I'd
All
like
right.
to say, if the recording becomes available soon after the meeting, if that could be shared so we can push it out for people that weren't able to attend to at least review, that'd be great.
Excellent idea, Scott.
Mary, I think you muted it.
Okay,
That shouldn't be a problem, Scott.
thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mary. All right, unless there's anything else, I believe if we're ready to adjourn.
Okay.
I move that we adjourn.
I second the motion.
All right, okay. I guess I would agree, yay.
Okay. Unanimous vote to adjourn. Great.
Thank you, everybody.
So,
All right, thank you so much, everybody.